Another fine morning out in the woods. October the 27th today, and it's getting right. I tell you, the bucks are showing up more and more on trail camera. I've been hunting this place for a few years. It's just a small little place, not even 20 acres, but I've seen more nice deer, big bucks, mature bucks, coming through this funnel, coming through this little bottleneck this year than I've ever seen in all the years of hunting down here. It's just one of them magical years. I just can't run into one yet. Come closer on the 25th. Had two shooters, right? I mean, well, one 5 yards from me, and there was a limb, and I couldn't get through that limb, so he just kind of mealed on. That other one, I was walking to the stand, and he was already there, and I just seen the silhouette of him going through there about dark. So, and they're showing up. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they're out looking. They're starting to crew. 3 weeks ago, you didn't hardly see a buck on his feet. Now, we all know the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks is the time you need to spend out there as a bow hunter every moment you can. And this is also the way, for me, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, the 25th of October seems like something goes off in my head. Maybe it's just a mental thing for me, but it seems like, before the 25th, I can go, or I don't have to go. It's kind of like, man, if I go, fine. If I don't, fine. To me, it's just no big deal. But boy, when the 25th of October comes on into, until the end of, till 1st of December or whatever, man, I just get, my mind says I got to be in the woods. I got to be in the woods as much as I can, and checking trail cameras and all that stuff, and being out there. And boy, when you see a lot of these deer showing up on trail camera in the daytime, well, that just gives you that incentive just to stay in there a little bit longer and sit a little bit longer. And but I didn't see one this morning. I didn't see a deer this morning. That's the first time I've sat here and not seen a deer. But they may be back through here this evening. But I got some stuff I got to do in town, and then I'm going to hurry up and get back in here as soon as I can and set the rest of the evening. But also, I'm going to talk about something in this video just a moment. I want to talk about calling, because I've been getting some questions on calling. Now, I've got a couple of videos on here about calling, but they're kind of old, so maybe you just ain't seen them. So I'm going to go over a little review about calling and rattling. Well, I'm going to start rattling probably this weekend. November 1st for me is when I start rattling. Now, you may rattle a bit sooner. That's up to you. But I think it works best around that Halloween, November 1st on in. The next 2 weeks is prime rattling. So here, this weekend, I'm going to be out rattling something. But right now, I'm going to stay on this right here, because when it gets about the 24th, 25th of October, I don't go into the woods without a grunt call. I don't go into the woods without one, because this right here will save your hunt. And not just that, but even when you're not seeing nothing, this could very well get one of them curious deer, especially when the mature deer are up walking around like they are now. It may just give him the incentive to come on up there and check out that buck that's making that noise out, because they're looking right now. They're looking for them first available does, and boy, that fighting mode's just about ready to pick up, especially when the weather's like this. So, everybody knows I'm a turkey hunter. I'm a deer hunter too, but turkey hunting is my passion. I love to be able to call game. I've never elk hunted yet, like to someday, but I love to call stuff. It just, to me, that is the rush that I get as a hunter. And so, but I don't use a grunt call year round. I don't use a grunt call a lot in the early season. I just don't. I hunt over food. But right now is the time when you really need a grunt call. Now, I'm going to say some things that you may disagree with, and that's fine. Everybody's got their opinion, but I'm just telling you from 30 years of deer hunting experience, okay? A few years ago, these call companies, I guess, needed to push some calls, so they started coming up with these new sounds. These documented new sounds that deer do. I guess they just started doing, and nobody's ever heard them. I don't know, but anyway, you've probably seen them. They got the big long tubes, and they go down to the ground, and they start roaring and growling and all this stuff. And so for about the mid 2000s on, probably till now, I don't know, but everybody went out and started roaring and growling, and they started doing all this, and they started doing all these sounds. And you know, after 30 years of deer hunting, I've never once in my life heard a deer roar. I've never heard a deer, you know, scream out. I just never have. Pretty much is what you're going to hear right here. Now this is so simple, okay? When you start calling deer, this is the simple part. Right there, that's about what a buck does. That's what I've heard bucks do for 30 years right there. And you know, and you might hear a doe bleat every once in a while. Pretty much that's it. Maybe when the rut really gets to going here in a couple of weeks, you might hear this. That, you know, that chasing grunt, that pretty much 2 or 3 calls is all you need. 2 or 3 little notes is all you need. And so I think people do an injustice going out there and just roar, 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 and doing all these sounds that's just nuts. Keep it simple. Deer are simple. You know, they don't have the vocalization that a turkey does or an elk, you know, so you don't really have to be a great caller to learn a deer call, because deer has got a very, you know, very simple vocalization. So if you will just get out there and not get caught up in all this hoopla and all this new sounds, and you just get out there and just do this here. You know, just do that. If you're not seeing nothing, I do it every 30 minutes, you know, every half hour, pretty much. You know, I'll call like that, even if I ain't seeing nothing. I did this morning, because you never know when one might be cruising, you know, just out of sight, and it may just give him that. In fact, the other morning when I seen that last deer coming 5 yards from me, I was grunting at that first one I seen in the dark. You know, I just seen the silhouette. I was grunting at him, trying to keep him in there. That deer come through like, the second deer come through like 15 minutes later, right after I got from. So he may have been coming into that grunt. He may have been up there hearing that grunt and come in and check me out. I don't know, because I know he sure come to the base of the tree, and they know where that sound is. So I think, you know, keep it simple. You can't really mess up unless you start getting into these crazy, you know, moose calls and trying to do. But you really can't mess up. Just keep it simple. Every 30 minutes, if you see one, grunt at him. You know, if he's walking away from you, especially. You see this deer right here in the corner? That deer I shot a few years ago, 11-point buck. This deer was going totally away from me. He was about 60 yards, going totally the opposite, had his rear end to me, going totally the other way. It was real windy that day, and I had a grunt call, and I just started grunting to him. And he didn't, you know, he just kept walking. He didn't even pay no attention. Well, I grunted louder. And then, you know, he just kept walking. Well, what I do, I just grunt loud. I just keep getting more vocal. I keep getting more loud and vocal until I get a reaction. And finally, through that wind, he heard that last grunt, because I really got loud. And he stopped, turned around like this, looked where that sound was coming from, turned his whole body totally around. I mean, just totally turned a whole and come straight for me. He got there about 25 yards, and he was facing me, and he was getting ready to turn and go back to the way he was coming. I grunted again. He heard me. He come right to the base of the tree and shot him 4 yards out of the base of the tree and shot him. No doubt that if I didn't have a grunt call that morning, I'd have never killed that deer. Grunted that deer all the way in. And there's been several others, you know, these deer that you're seeing on the screen right now, all of them grunted in. Not rattled, just grunted them in. And of course I rattled, you know, several in over the years too, and grunting. So rattling, grunt, you know, works good together. But right now, stay on the grunt call every half hour, and see one, get a reaction. If he's going away from you, just keep calling. Look, you ain't gonna scare him. If he's gonna leave, he's gonna leave, right? That's what I tell people about turkey hunting. If the gobbler's walking away, I'll do whatever I have to do, because hey, he ain't gonna screw nothing up, because he's leaving anyway. So that's the same way with deer. So I want to get a reaction. Okay, so So that's just kind of a short little review about what I do as far as grunt calls. You know, grunt calls, I mean, you know, they all pretty much sound the same. There isn't no best grunt call in my opinion. Just get one that sounds real, get one, pretty much all of them do, and just, you know, little short grunts every 30 minutes, and that's pretty much all she wrote. And boy, it'll really work, especially this time of year. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment and subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button, and also like this video, and also come down in the description and join our Facebook by hitting on that link there. Come over and like and follow my page on Facebook. Check out the website, DellOutdoors.com. Really appreciate everyone that follows me here, and share the channel. Help me grow the channel. Appreciate everybody. Next 2 weeks is going to be dynamite. Get out there and get you a big one. And hey, send me a picture and tell me your story. And we're going to get back here as soon as possible. Set up this seating, and it may happen this evening. See you later.